Hi YouTube. Back with another feedback session. You guys won't know the difference, but it's Feedback Saturday instead of Feedback Friday this week. Nitro Spectra says, "Hi Eric, would love to get your feedback on my Golden Demon entry from this year. Where should I focus efforts to improve from here? Should I focus more on improving painting technique like blending, etc., or on composition like model placement, arrangement, and dead space, or on values and readability, or something else?" Let's talk about all of the above. Can't give too much, but I give my personal thoughts on it. So, number one thing, yeah? Kind of cool effect with the, a bit Harry Potter, honestly. A little too Harry Potter for my taste. But, number one thing I would give feedback on is sometimes less is more. There is way too much empty, dead space, as you put it. Just empty space, you know? Making the scene a little more condensed. Make the scene show what is important. The guy here is quite readable because he's silhouetted. Quite nice. I don't think this tree helps you at all. Honestly, like, yeah, this little guy, it's kind of funny. I don't think really helps the dual aspect of the scene. And then, yeah, there's just tons of just empty space. This I don't love. I find name plaques to be kind of tacky. Maybe this is just my personal feelings, but I don't think they add very much to a figure. Pop Secret, thanks for the tier 1. Appreciate you. Honestly, the painting, like, there's not high enough resolution to go into, like, really, like, technique heavy, but based on what I can kind of see on this guy, yeah, there could probably be some better blending and whatnot. But I mean, the definition on the figures looks pretty good. Let's look at another angle real quick. What? Stop doing that. I hate that Discord setting. Just like jump down like that. Do you see? This is just too much. Like, there's so much empty space. Okay, so the less is more. Like, I like this sort of idea of take away as much as you can to get the, like, scene that you're trying to create across, you know? Like, remove, there's just too much, like, forward space and space on the back. The scene is, like, way too deep. Yeah, it's just way too big. The painting quality on the base also doesn't feel up to the same level as the figure itself. I'm very, I'm going to say pro the basing matching the painting style of the figures. I find it very jarring when figure, like, the figure and basing do not match stylistically. a little weird. And then, yeah, like color compositionally, there's a little bit of weird things going on in terms of ambience. Like nothing on this guy, like this is the classic, like I'm going to paint non-metallic metal steel, so I'm going to use blue. And it doesn't really sell that this is like part of this sort of jungle, not jungle, but forest environment. Like I would expect to see greens and things showing up more in the armor. I'm not gonna sit here and like do corrections on this. It's too much, but like it's too much model to like sit and try and draw corrections on. Also, like well, I'm not even gonna say. Yeah, but from the standpoint of like entering a piece that I think will stand out. Yeah, less is more, right? Less is more. Focus, you want the focus on the main characters, and there's just too much empty space. Too much empty space in between them. This is like huge. So they need to come together. Some, like I would have, he could have been here and that would have been enough, you know? You still could have gotten this effect off. And you could have cut way down. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Also, the OSL is a little weird because it's like very specifically only affecting some very small parts of the scene. So, what's up, Dr. Rhino? All right. That's my feedback. What do we got next? Fred. Hi, Eric. I painted a young girl from Ember Miniatures for fun and practice, imagining who she could be and giving her some character. I'm quite pleased with the result, despite the need to clean up here and there. I use this painting loosely for inspiration. I'm not clicking on that. Could you give me some general feedback and more specifically about her eyes, which seem a little odd to me? Okay. Oh, that's the picture. All right. Boop, 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 boop. Needs some dark lining. Okay. So there's some things that stand out. Mostly just like some roughness and application of paint. Like I'm gonna start circling some things. Like what's going on here with it being black? This. Like brown, brown, brown. There's like skin tone stuff happening in these areas. There's like spots of brown in here. Okay, so like take a little extra time. This is a bit of a mess. We gotta take some time and we gotta clean stuff up. There's like skin tone showing up on the leather straps in there. Okay, so, oops. Let's look at what just like cleaning up and doing some dark lining and stuff will do to this model. So, you don't need this pure black in here. This is weird. Like all this should be the shadow color of the white, you know, with some variation in it. Okay, then you gotta come in and like clean this stuff up, clean it up. Dark lines. More of her hand would be in shadow. Like more, there would be more shadow between these elements. Even like in here, some shadows, some occlusion. So separate, define. Just clean, you like, just clean up, guys. Define. Then, okay, same with the hair. You need some definition to the hair. Probably some kind of dark color like this. His hair is probably a bit too yellow. No one's hair is really that intensely yellow. And then you probably have a bit too much of these, like, see what, can you see like this here? Like, look how this becomes like a muddy sort of yellow. It's so yellow that it just becomes like this sort of muddy color. Like blonde hair is somewhere in here. We need more of these like tan tones. But then up here you have more of these like orangish tones. So where are these like orange tones? Down here. I typically paint dark lines later. In like the cleanup refinement stage. Then you can come up to these more tannish colors like this. So these like muddy colors that you get like here, right, are from not getting good enough base coats earlier. So you get this like, you get the like muddy brown primer colors like showing through. You get these nasty mix of, or this like nasty mix of light yellow and black, which creates these like greenish looking tones. So I can't stress enough how important like the foundation is to making sure that you get clean results of like nice solid color. Right, like see the difference in how kind of muddy her hair looks here. And then there's like more strong color here. Then you can push the highlights to these sorts of tones if you want. And then you can start using these like light yellowish tones. This is like ice yellow, whatever. I would avoid jumping too fast to white because that also tends to look very desaturated and okay. Mortis King. Hello, thanks for the prime. Don't rush the early stages. Okay. All right. Now, the problem with the eyes. The problem with the eyes is that you have no shadow over the eyes. This is as small as I can draw on this image, but there, I fixed your eyes. Occlusion shadows in the nose. Right, got to shadow the nostrils. The mouth is also too like stretched. There's no shape to the mouth. Okay, so we need to that, and then the upper lip is too straight across. So it should taper to the corners of the mouth. And then the lower lip normally does not cut all the way to the corner. It stops before. So paint the lower lip. You can even add some the color back to that. And we'll clean this up. Then you can add a highlight. To the volume. All right. I don't know. I can't tell. So, like, I don't know this model, so I don't know for sure, but you can fix it either way. Okay, then the face, like the shadow of the face. So you typically have a bit more shadow here. Probably the shadow on the side of the nose is a bit too much. And it's very gray also. And then you don't have enough shadow under the jaw. The chin should have a shadow, like the jaw should have a shadow under it. Then this is too gray. Probably should be darker also. There's probably be some shadow here. And then this is too white compared to her skin tone. Like it's too gray also. It's lacking the color that I would expect. And then maybe there's some light hitting here. And then this could be even darker. Because there's the occlusion of her neck. And create some separation from her jaw and her hair like that. When painting skin, I've heard some artists talk about being afraid to work in gray or desaturate, and then other painters like Banshee saying there needs to be more saturation. Is there a difference in styles, or is there realism in both of these points? This both can be true. You just have to be like, you can't be both at the same time. This is what I'm getting at. Like there's parts of this that are very gray and then other parts that are very saturated, but they don't like line up with each other. So it's like it ends up looking patchy, or there's parts that are like washed out, and then other parts that, you know, are more saturated, but then like I said, the neck like didn't match the skin tone of the arm and the face, you know? So it's like 3 different skin tones across different parts of the model. Like, where's the red in the fingers, you know? I would expect there to be some red in the hands. There's red in the cheeks, but there's not really much in the nose. And typically the upper chest tends to also have a bit of red to it, so. Things like your elbow might have a bit more red. All right, so being consistent is important there. And then your non-metallic, like there's just not a a highlight on many of these, and I can't draw small enough to do it, but there should be some shines on some of these things. You know? Give me that bling. Need that bling, dog. Like, this is just undone. It's just not finished. Okay. All right. Where'd you jump to now? Hi, Eric. Any feedback would be appreciated. Sam, what do you think the answer to that question is going to be? I'm going to give you one guess to answer your own question on when doing speculars and metallic is your final tone pure white. You think the answer is yes? Think about it for a second. While I look at this. Boo, paint liquor, there you go. As bright as your light source. So if your light source, if the final lights are like a light blue, and that's what your ambience you're going for, you end with a light blue, then your specular highlights should also be a light blue. Hello, Baldwin. Thanks for the tier 1. I like this. It's cool. It's pretty well done. Some elements seem a little flat. I don't like. I'm gonna assume that this is the camera or something, and not the painting. But there's a couple parts, and there's some areas like this is a little speckly. It looks like some airbrush artifacts that I would probably try and clean up. I like the pants. The boots are also pretty cool. Generally speaking, there's maybe some areas for cleanup in a couple spots. I would say overall this looks really nice. I like the color palette. The red is a little intense. Okay, you're using it as like a complementary color to the green, but it's like just down here, so it kind of throws the balance off just a tiny bit because you don't have any red anywhere else. I think my biggest thing about this painting, besides just some little cleanup here and there, is I think the metallics are kind of boring. And what I mean by that is they feel very linear, kind of kind of flat, and well, like these are just too like linear yellow. And maybe there's some interesting colors in there, but I think you could have done more. And then like this is just way too much. It's like this is not how this would look. So yeah, like when you're talking about like the metallic on these sort of elements, you should learn to like simplify some of these, because this isn't like we need this is a if you imagine that what like this thing would be like, it's just a flat plane, right? So it can often be very counterintuitive for painters to just, when they're doing non-metallic, to be like, I should paint this very simple. But if we simplify this, and then like, why does this doesn't need like a massive gradient on it, you know? Like all these little secondary gradients and stuff, it's just a little too much. And then like if this is supposed to be facing upwards, you can go a bit brighter, right? This is also, okay. Then you use the edges to say like, oh, well, this little section right here catches some light. This corner catches some light. This edge catches light. Maybe these somehow, in these corners, whatever, right? So, and then we can push that even more. Right, I know it can seem odd to be like, yeah, let's actually just simplify this shape. But it ends up being more natural. Then if you want to introduce little secondaries and stuff, you can do that, but it shouldn't be like such an extreme jump on this side plane, right? It might be just these little smaller reflections. More subtle, more nuanced. Same with these guys, like this here, actually, like where's that dark reflection coming from? This front plane of the sword hilt here would probably be much more, something more like this. Okay. This would probably have a quite bright reflection on like the top of this handle here to match the sort of reflection you have here. And then if that faces downward, then probably more of this would be much darker. The trick is just like being consistent between planes, you know? This is the one that always gets people when you have these things, right? How do you render these? Do you render them all the same? Or if as you think about these as like a partial sphere, right? So it's like a sphere and then the button or whatever it is just like a dome cut off of it. As you rotate, as these rotate around her waist, then this dome, right, is rotating around the sphere. Okay, so you're going to end up with a different dome each time. So if on the sphere the reflection is here, the main reflection is here, as this thing rotates around, the dome might be like this, right? Or it might be like this, or it might be like the full front view, or it can start to like shift to that side, right? So that means that like if this one gets the main reflection here, well, by the time you get to this one, maybe it only catches on that edge, or maybe if it does catch, it's like just in that corner, right? So each one has to have a slightly different reflection, but they should be generally sort of consistent with each other, but you have to consider the like rotation of the object as it moves around in space. Okay. Yeah, and then I think like some stuff like this, you're probably using too much white. You can make this look more metallic-y by like this belt buckle's not facing upwards. Yeah, it's a lot of belts. It's a lot of little like metallic trinkets. So yeah, just try and think about like when you're doing metallics, try and think of the orientation of the object and like where is it going to catch light, and then trying to really like define that plane, right? Like these little like the whatever, I don't know what you call this, not a buckle, but like the tip of the leather, right? It's like if only the top edge, if it's facing forward, then probably it's not going to catch that much light on the front of it, but the top edge might catch a lot of light, right? And play with more color in your metallics. Okay, because like your pants have like a nice, there's a clear like color transition, right? This, let's look. See how far over this way it is? It's like getting towards yellow. And then if we come here, look, it's all the way down here. So we're going through this whole color range, right? In the pants. And then in the metal, we go from this we go from here to here. Right? We've got this much in the gold. We're transitioning that much. But in the greens, we go from here to here. Right? That makes sense? All right. Jason, hi Eric. Always trying to up my game. Give me that tough love. Thank you, sir. Ignore the lamp head in the way. What? Oh, the big like blob on the side. I'm gonna ask. So this is gonna be an issue because I'm going to assume that the like left side of this model, that the lamp position is doing a lot of work to create shadows on the side of the model here. Would you start with like a burnt red for the NMM then, in the previous example, for a larger range? Okay, let's look at something. Let's look at the leather. Okay, leather starts here, and then it moves down, right? Starts up this direction in orange, and it's moving down where? It's going this way. And then the green, starting up here. It's moving down here. So it's moving down. By the way, the white doesn't do it either. White's just like neutral. Doesn't change at all. Maybe a tiny bit, but. So what do you think the gold should do? What's happening to the darker sections? It's getting... Are the lights warm or cold? Are they? Are the lights of this green warm or cold? Yeah. Warm lights, cold shadows. All right. So, lights are warmer, shadows are colder. So that means the shadows of the gold need to be colder. The dark reflections. Lucas, thanks for the gifted sub. All right, back to Geppetto. So, besides the camera work that's going on here, because this isn't helping, generally speaking, I kind of like what's going on, but the light is definitely giving some assistance to this photograph. I like the wood, looks pretty good. Overall, I think the face painting is pretty nice. He's probably missing a nice highlight on his nose. So I think we need to add some highlights. What do the highlights do? All right, are the lights warm or cold? Let's try again. Warm, yay! They were warm. So, there's like a really nice big light on his forehead. I think you need to add a bit more light in some spots. Try and sell some of these materials. Like, what are these? Maybe they're like hair, I don't know. They're probably not plastic because they're bone or something. Even like on his ear, might get some highlights in some of these parts. Probably need some highlight on his fingernails. I think the clothes are pretty nice. I think there's some parts to the wood here that could use some highlights. The wood is interesting. Like if this is, you can see a lot of this. Can you guys see these? Yeah, you can see those. You think that's painted or you think that's gloss from the lamp? Yeah, that's gloss, right? No, it doesn't need a matte varnish. But if the lamp is in the position and the wood is oiled or something, right? Wood is polished. If the wood's polished or varnished wood, right? So if the lamp is in the right position for the scene and there is a shine there on the figure, what does that tell you that's missing? Yeah, that there should be painted highlights in all those spots, right? So you come in and actually paint these highlights that you can see. Maybe he painted his eyes with a gloss paint. You know, it would be a nice storytelling element. So, yeah, come back in, add some highlights. I don't know if the shadows are this dark, but yeah, you need some highlights on the wood and stuff to sort of match what's going on. If you want like a sort of satiny effect to the wood. They don't have to be this bright on the face, but I actually think I would paint. Probably not something like that. I think I would do something like that, to be honest. And Lucas didn't sculpt it, but I think what might be nice is to just like draw something like that. Give him a mouth. Brushmaster. Hi, Eric. I would appreciate any feedback you give me on this piece. I know the skin is very desaturated. That was intentional. Okay. It's pretty good. I'm going to do this view, actually. I feel like this view of the figure is better. Okay. I don't know, I think it's pretty neat. I like that you're playing around with more color now. Like there's like purples and stuff showing up in shadows. That's pretty nice. Face is a bit odd, and I think that's mostly the sculpt. I'm just looking at the sculpt, sorry. It's like... No, I don't think it's your wonky painting. I think it's the sculpt. Okay. Here's where I'm gonna couple tips for you. One would be don't do the philtrum quite so dark. I'm not painting on a new layer. This is also probably a little dark right here. Please don't do this. Don't paint black lines between teeth. It makes it look like they have little like grains of rice for teeth. And then your golds, see this? So you want to make sure like this earring is reflecting light, yeah? And then this earring is reflecting light here. Well, what is this reflecting right here? What would that earring be reflecting? Some of this light is going to bounce off of this, is going to bounce onto this, and then it's going to bounce back to the viewer. Yep. So we can create some more definition there by creating a little reflection of the earring beneath it. How about this guy? Not as much as the earring above it, which means you would do it for like these two. It helps to also just not have that like dark leading into nothing. Maybe this one reflects a little of this green guy. Okay, maybe these over here. Maybe they reflect a little bit of the green. And then it helps create another line of definition, right, on the bottom edge. And tie some of the model together. So little things like that you can try and think about more. Looks like no. Yeah, the arm itself, this sculpt is weird. Like you have there's not two muscles right there. No, because technically the bicep inserts under the armpit. So if you want to talk about it, if we want to talk about anatomy, you have the front head of the bicep, which goes into the forearm. So there's a bone, like two bones here, and the arm is currently pronated or supinated. This is Pronation. This is supination. This is pronation. No, supination is turning this way. Pronation is palm down. Pronation's palm down. So supinate. Oh, right. Okay. Whatever. The arm is supinated. So the palm is facing towards her. So the arm, the bicep connects in, the heads of the tricep come down like this, right? So the bicep connects in to the arm. It's not fully flexed, so it would actually be a bit stretched. Then the bicep goes in under the front head of the delt. So this is kind of correct, but this would be one form here as it connects in under the delt, like, or under the pec, which then also goes in under the front head of the deltoid. So this would actually all be one muscle. So this second, this whatever this is right here, would not be there. That's an imaginary muscle. And then, yeah, the tricep goes like that. And it's in a stretched position, so it would be quite flat. And the tricep would go under the delt, actually, or the latissimus dorsi. And then you have this. Which actually, in this position, the lat would be quite stretched like that. So all that's to say is that, yeah, maybe you could, I don't know, try and fix this by making this just one muscle. Don't know if that's possible. I like how this wasn't really talking much about the actual painting, but the arm is still weird anyways, but yeah. Anyways, it's pretty nice, dude. Like, I like it. I would work on the metallics some more, like I said. I would also try and shrink some of these. Like, you got some pretty thick outlines around these parts that I think you could get a little closer to the beads and try and define these a little bit better. But yeah. Yeah, the fingers are also weird. There's a lot weird going on. Who sculpted this? Where did this model come from? Loot Studios. Makes sense. Checks out. Paint job's pretty cool though. Hi, Eric. So 90% whip of Gladiator that I painted as a high tabletop level. I'd like your feedback, especially on the flame explosion. But I have feedback for elsewhere, because the flame is probably the best part. The flame is nice. The issues lie in that your figure has no highlights. Well, the hair does. Okay, let's look at this. All right, so this is the highlight of the hair. This is the shadow of the hair. This is the shadow of the hair. This is the shadow of the skin. This is the highlight of the skin. This is a black material with a crazy bright highlight. The skin, right? See the problem? Do we see some of the issue here? The skin, the hair has this huge value range, and then the red has like none. I think this is from the camera, but I can't be 100% positive. But I'm pretty sure that's from the camera. So, they don't have to be identical. The value changes because shinier things have a higher value range. Only the volumetrics need to shift equally. The albedo should shift equally. The specular highlights vary depending on how shiny the material is. But I don't imagine his suit is like matte red. I imagine his suit has some shininess to it. You know, it's probably not like latex, right? But it's probably got some shine to it, right? Some sort of satiny, slightly glossy material, right? So I think you could definitely like push some highlights here and there to give some definition. To the his muscly parts. So ripped, dude. He's the gladiator. He's like the perfect being. And he's so confident. Michael Paints Minis. Thanks for the tier 1. Did you guys know that Gladiator's power is based on how confident he is that he'll win a fight. Did you know that? He's part of the Shi'ar Empire. Give him some highlights, you know? Who would win, Gladiator or Beta Ray Bill? That's a pretty close match. They've probably fought before, to be honest. Whoever the writer decides. That's the real answer. Then we'll add some of this explosion to the lower parts of him. Okay, so we want to light up some of these, like, we want to light up some of this stuff. Add some interaction. Okay, make it more exciting. And then I would say that this, like, smoke plume is probably a bit bright. I think normally I would say, yeah, you want it pretty. I don't like to use too much darker tones in figures, but this is like more like sculpted smoke. So you can go a little darker here. You go down to these like sort of brick oranges. And then even like down to like these browns. And then because it's smoke, we might have some sort of grayish highlights on it. What? My question is, why does the blue reflect orange light same as the red? Because it's a specular highlight. And that's how specularity works. Would it be the exact same shade of orange? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how glossy the material is. This is a blue bottle of paint. This is a red shiny bottle of paint. They both reflect white. So they both have a specular highlight. If I take out my phone flashlight, I can add another specular highlight. So it depends on the material. Blue, in fact, would not even get orange, other than in the specular highlights. Doesn't show orange at all. I'm not gonna, Dave. I'm not gonna sit here and explain specular versus what's it called. I have explained that a million times, and it is a long, complicated explanation. Speaking of, here's another example of not doing it right. So anyways, I'm going to take a quick break before we get to this witch lady, and then I'll be right back. Hi, Eric. I would love some general feedback on Cat the Witch. Some stuff is still a bit rough, work in product stage, making an attempt at cast shadows. So who better to ask? Okay. Someone should. Perhaps you could take my workshop. My in-person workshop. Okay. So, not bad. Yes, there is some roughness. All right, so let's talk about specular and diffused lights again. This is a black satiny material. This is a purple satiny material. There's a green light source. By the way, the cast shadows are pretty good. You have a light source coming up from below. This only shows basically a specular light here. So, how would the green light work on the black material? Would it be a diffused green light, or would it be a specular green light, chat? Correct. It would be a specular green light. And where would it reflect? On the 45. So, no diffused green. Specular green. Also, the OSL can't be brighter than the light source. Specular green. Stretched along the cylinder. Same here. This would all be black except for this green specular reflection. Same with the purple. The purple would also be specular. And it would appear in other areas based on the folds and things like that. She needs more cleavage. She needs dark lines. Okay. So green only reflects on green or neutral materials, neutral colors. Yeah? Not black. Black is absence. Right? This staff. Staff is metallic, I assume. Okay. That means the light of the staff needs to reflect similarly. So there would be the main reflection of the non-metallic would be somewhere around here. On the center of the rod, like on the top half of the center of the rod. This would get diffused green because it is a neutral color. However, I don't think it would be brighter than the pages themselves. The pages are also very dark. Again, you cannot get the light source cannot be brighter, or the OSL can't be brighter than the thing it's shining on. What? The light source has to be brighter. I can't reflect light off of something and get a brighter light source than the light source itself. That makes sense to people, right? Like that seems pretty self-explanatory. That nothing on Earth is going to be brighter than the sun. Like you can't, like a mirror is not going to shine brighter than the actual sun. Yeah? Just making sure chat understands that. Yes. Okay, you also have a ton of these little guys. All these little things should get like a little green. Not all of them, only the ones that can actually like have line of sight to the glow. Should get a reflection of it. Probably the metallic. Well, you did a little bit. That's nice. This should have some sort of reflection of it on certain parts. And then, yeah, the pages are probably too dark, but now there's a little thing here. Technically, her eye would not have a specular highlight in it, based on the fact that her the light source is blocked. I like to put one in anyways, because it looks good. That's the answer. Because it looks good. Because we expect it to be there. Something's weird about her neck. And her eyebrows are too light. Need more shadow in her mouth too. Probably need a brighter highlight on her lip. And her tongue. Her tongue's wet. This is off. It's too... It wouldn't quite work like this. Like, it would go up, but then this is weird. So there should be like, yeah, some wrinkles and larger wrinkles breaking up some of this to split these. And then there should be like specular reflections on her fingers also. Then the specular reflections will often do this thing. So it's too stripy here, too stripy here where it's more flat. So it should be more perfect, I guess, like that. Then where the fabric starts, so where the fabric stretches, it should be nice and straight, right? Because the fabric is stretched. Then where the fabric, so the fabric is stretched here on her hand, probably show up some on her palm also. Then where the fabric wrinkles, it'll like zigzag like this, where it like zigzags through the wrinkles. Go look at Girls in Cat Suits if you want an example. You know, if you want to go look at some reference. And it's not quite that bright. It does get extremely bright in some spots. So what I would do is I would tone it down a little. And then assuming the light source is circular, you would get a section of it that's going to be like a bit brighter. Something like that. Last little thing, and this is a design decision. Her hair and her shawl are very similar. Probably too similar. I would consider making it more red and toning it down some. Just to create more visual distinction. Hi, Creep. And then you could make this more similar also. Hi, Little Bones. Thanks for the Prime. 2 months. How's it going? So, see how the hair gets lost in the shawl? By making the shawl darker, you make the hair silhouette better. Okay. Nim, wait. Where are we? Nim, updated below. Nim says. Nim. Hello, Eric. Curious for any feedback I can either address or carry forward. The eyes are a bit scuffed, and I've had so many attempts to fix them that I can't really address it without stripping the face. First time attempting an OSL type effect, was trying to go for a Patrick J. Jones vibe. Okay. I think the OSL is pretty good, honestly. It's maybe a bit much on the black. Because it's like very strong on her face. Eyes aren't that scuffed. All right, so here's what I would recommend. We're going for a Patrick J. Jones type effect. Are these highlights warm or cold, chat? And I'm not talking about the orange ones. Yes, Discord is a good place. They are cold. In fact, they're cold in what direction? What color do you get an overall vibe to the main light? How does it sort of transition? What sort of color do you feel that you get? Green. Yeah. So green, right? So things seem to be on the warmer side, right? This is sort of yellow, and then as we get this greenish feeling, even though it's mostly yellowish, right? But this is sort of greenish. These are sort of greenish. It's yellow, but there's a bit of green, right? When you desaturate yellow, it often tends to feel green, like on the green side. So what's up with the gold? The gold is too saturated in the lights. Okay, so what we're going to do two things. In the top side of the metal, right, where these main reflections are, of the gold specifically, we're going to start to desaturate this gold a bit, all right? And the reason for this is we want it to fit into the ambience even more, okay? So we need to pull out some of the color, and I'm going to do another thing, all right? So I'm going to really like go greeny with it. Okay, so we're going to start to shift some of the upper facing gold the cold side gold more towards a greenish gold. All right, we're trying to further amplify that two-part this like warm cold effect, right? This like red green complementary sort of thing. Then I'm actually going to come in and like really play with this like minty green a little bit, and I would enhance, instead of going like all the way to white, I would play with like the idea of these greenish tones even more. So like in the skulls, right? Like right in these parts. I don't know if this is the right. Maybe something like that, but I'm going to turn this down a little. Okay, in the bone, in the fur. What's wrong? Whatever, overlay will work for now. Even in the blacks. Okay, so if we look at the difference, it's going to be quite subtle, but like we enhance that. This one's doing a lot. We enhance that greenish sort of feeling from the top. Okay, bringing that ambience in. Okay, then down here, this is too muddy brown. All right, if we're going for like a red fiery thing, use something nice and saturated. Okay, then in the gold where it's really shiny, okay, that means this stuff and this stuff. Okay, don't be afraid to like use the color in there, you know. That means like under the skulls, you know, anything that's like downward facing here is going to pick up that fire color. Okay? You can't just affect the face the most. All right? Then when we have the metal, that's when you can start where it's because the gold is going to shift it more yellowish, right? Then when we have the metal, that's when you can really start to like pop in. Whoa, way too big of a brush. That's when you can really start to like pop in some of these bright reflections that are really catching that firelight, right? Often seems to be this like fear of going too far on some of this stuff. Even this thing will, right? The horn will catch some. This is going to catch some. These like downward facing ones will catch. Okay. And then some of this probably needs to be smoothed out a little bit. But right. So we'll add in some of those green, or the not green, but like really intense orange specular reflections, and maybe some of that catches on the fur and whatever. Like sell the effect, all right? So look what this does to the silhouette. All right, so playing with some of the ambience. I'll just duplicate this so we can see everything together, right? So kind of a little snoozy, then punch it up. I remember to go back up. Ethan would love some general feedback on how to improve this piece. Alien was a challenge, and back still has some work to do. Look at the little guy. Look at this little guy. I like this figure. Look at him. Shadow work looks pretty good here. A couple things. I like some of these nice spot highlights you have here. Overall, I think it's going quite well, honestly. There's a little weirdness with like the mouth. I'm not quite sure. Cast Shadow's a little weird. He's also got his teeth in here or something that you might want to like cheat some light in here. Just to give some definition to the mouth. Just these parts, just to like separate them from the skin a little more. I would come in and add a little bit more highlighting to the metal. Probably on these parts. I would probably try and find a spot where you can like really push the highlight here based on the sort of lighting angle. I think there would probably be like a pretty bright one right here. And because these... Yeah, something like that. Because you got a nice one. I would actually get fancier with the one in his eye. I would like try and, I don't know, do something like this or whatever. Give the eye some shape, you know. Maybe try and add just like a little bit of light to this part just to give this some form also. There's some sort of purple light coming over from here. So I think you could maybe add like a something like that in the eyes. And then these would probably like maybe something like this, because the metal is going to reflect from further away. So you could maybe do something like that. Do the same thing with this thing. Maybe something like that. Then your little alien man. If he's, I imagine he's kind of slimy. You could also get him with a little bit of purple. He just seems like he would be wet, you know? He looks like a moist guy. What I'm getting at. And just help him stand out a little more. I think you do a few of those things that'll help add some definition and stuff that it feels like it's lacking a little bit. But yeah, overall, I think it's going really well. Swammy Alex. Hi. I haven't painted in a while. But wait. You're back to it with this. I painted it shiny and saturated first, but it felt wrong for a vampire, so I put tons of blue and green filters. What am I missing to sell this as a moonlight scene? Oh boy, here we go. Oh my God. How do I answer this in a way? Okay. One of the hardest questions in miniature painting. How do I make it look like a nighttime scene? Well, he's not his first model. He's back at it. Well, there's one thing in this photo that's really not helping you make this look like a nighttime scene. Anybody know what that is? Yeah, a giant white backdrop. Because we don't expect to see that. And so the point I'm trying to make is that in order to for figures to look like they're in a nighttime setting, it's all about context. Like how you place things in context. Because really, if I could go outside and take a photo and like crank the exposure and I could light things up, right? I could like take a hour-long exposure of a tree and it would light up, you know? Because there would just be enough light over time. So your eye's exposed to the night, right? Your pupils dilate, so you let more light in, so you can see more details. Okay? But you don't expect to see white, right? So, what color is the moon? Anybody know? What color is the light from the moon? It's yellow. It's yellowish. It's actually like the same color as the sun, because it's just the sun reflecting off of the moon. Anybody know why we think that the moon is like, moonlight is more bluish? Anybody know? No, doesn't have to do with the sky. One, it's because of movies. But two, there's a second reason. The second reason is contextually at nighttime. What are the other light sources that you see when you go outside at night? And this is less true now because of the way like modern lights are. And candles and incandescent lights historically, which are extremely warm. Yeah, warm light bulbs, right? So we're much more orange lights. In fact, probably most of the street lights in your neighborhood that you see are more orange. Right? So, by context, you're surrounded with orange lights that are as like probably similarly bright to the moon, because the moon is not that bright. Right? So you're used to seeing a lot of orange warm lights. So contextually, the moonlight looks a lot colder than it actually is. Okay? However, the moon is the same, roughly the same Kelvin as the sun. Okay? Are you guys tracking with me so far? Does this make sense? Let's do an example. I'm probably not going to paint on your figure that much, sorry. This is more just a lesson in light and why a lot of your nighttime scenes don't work. Okay, so it's black. Oh, it's nighttime. Okay, so let's put the moon in. All right. Here's the scene, and here's the moon in the sky. The moon's actually pretty tiny. It's pretty small.
There's the moon. It's yellow. Right? It's a nice pale yellow. Okay? And it looks yellow. But then if we do this, and we put a bunch of orange houses and stuff around, we get the night, the city skyline, night sky, whatever. Suddenly it looks colder. And then this is creating a nice haze. Is selling a nighttime scene like the same concept as NMM, where the value contrast is what informs the viewer of the environment? No. Selling a nighttime scene is about context with the rest of the scene. And there's so many things that go into it. Ambience, in terms of like color ambience, value, how dark your shadows are. You have significantly less ambient light at nighttime. Yeah. There's a lot of things that go into it. You have basically, like, there's not that much blue because you don't have the sky. Sky is more gray at nighttime. If you do like a long exposure on the sky at nighttime, it turns very gray. So there's a lot of there's so many factors. Okay, but basically, and then you could do like, I don't know, clouds or whatever. Ooh, spooky. Okay, so this is the point, right? How we read things contextually. So let's look at this real quick. All right. Metal. Yeah, this horse. Okay. This is a very blue reflection. Yeah. How about these? These are very green. Shifting to yellow. Greenish. All right. So what's the metal missing? Because you're not going to have... So metallics at nighttime. Yeah. During the daytime on chrome or whatever, on steel, outside you see a lot of blue in the reflections, on the upward facing reflections, because what? Because the sky is the entire top half, right? Hemispherical lighting, correct. So What is the sky in a nighttime scene for non-metallic? Black, basically, right? So your golds, right, need way more dark tones, all right? So if you're reflecting the sky, that means like majority, and you're trying to do a nighttime scene, majority of the upper facing planes, majority of all of the planes are going to be significantly darker. I mean, I could sit here and talk about like the rendering of the actual planes on this figure, but I don't have, I've already talked enough about ambience in nighttime scenes. But yeah, you have to use way more dark tones. One, I just don't think, without the context of more stuff, that painting your figures like they're in nighttime makes that much sense. Because honestly, there just isn't a huge difference. And if there was moonlight, then the moonlight would be affecting the ground and all these other things. Yeah, it is a trap. You can do it, but you need more context. And you should look at reference of what things look like at nighttime. Because they don't look that different. Okay, especially under like full moon. Yeah, and then it depends, like, is it a full moon? Is it a partial moon? You know. Yes, a firelight or something could also help sell that it's at nighttime. There's lots of things. Generally darker, like darker midtones will help sell that it's nighttime. And then, yeah, trying to paint a whole army like it's nighttime. Just, is the board also the board you're going to play on also nighttime? You know, that's a question. Dave, Mr. David Diamondstone, how are you? Hi Eric, this is for a competition coming up in a month. Just looking for general feedback, thanks. Let me look at the back. This looks pretty good. I mean, of course it looks pretty good, but looks like you got some work to do on the back there still. Yeah. Is this supposed to be a wolf? Something's a little weird about the wolf head. That's really good. The cast shadows are quite nice. Pretty nice. It's based on our dog Kiki. That's messed up, dude. Yo, that's messed up. I mean, I don't have a ton of feedback to give you. I think there's maybe some, I like the like chromatic aberration in the, what's it called? I'm going to look at it from the side here. This is a little tiny bit dark. Okay, yeah. So oops, I saved it twice. All right. So one little thing that's kind of fun to do. This is like just a, hey, you can maybe do it if you want thing. One, I think you could add a little bit of this chromatic aberration to the hair line here. Like, cause the hair is not like perfectly solid, you know? So that's a little light through it. So you do that. And then I sometimes like to do this, where I'll like add another little shadow or something here to like create the effect that like there's this like strand of hair out of place or whatever. It can like create some additional detail that, you know, isn't actually sculpted, but you can kind of like sell an effect. It's just, that's a trick. That's a trick for you guys. This, did I do that? I don't know. This is a tiny bit dark. So I would bring it up, the values up on the side of the face just a bit. Maybe more than that, actually. And then because the light is coming in, because the light is coming in from the top right and creating this cast shadow, you want to get a little bit of this nasolabial fold a bit darker, but because the skin is semi-transparent because of subsurface scattering, it won't be like as gray as the other side. So I like to try and shadow that just a touch more. Something like that. And then also this eyelid. So you did it quite well over here. So this part of the eyelid here will be a little darker. And then same with this part of this eyelid will be a little bit darker because of the light direction. And then you maybe went slightly too dark in a couple of, like just right here. It's a very subtle difference, but like I would bring this up a touch. Know what I mean? Also, here you can, there's a small brow ridge here that you probably want to just highlight slightly. It's a pretty subtle thing, but I'm nitpicking, guys, because it's very good, so I can nitpick very small things. Lip highlight just a little bit more, and then chin just a tiny bit. Now I feel like this is pretty good, and it could be just the picture. But I feel like the neck needs something. Don't have much to say about the metallics. I think you got that quite well. Yeah, overall, I think it's really good. Maybe a touch more red in the ear. Like very subtle. And then maybe a little bit more on like the upper cheek. You had it more on like the under the cheekbone, but it sits a little higher. I would give, even if this is like, this strand is blocking this part right here, I would probably give that strand some highlighting just because it looks good. And it's like a weird thing where like, yes, hair, it's like I feel like you painted it like it's solid, you know, but hair is it's not like a solid thing, so sometimes the light will pass through it and can get to these sections underneath. This is super freaking good. Really nice metal or wood texturing. This I assume is not done. One little thing about metal is metal, depending on how shiny it is, it will sometimes have cast shadows, like subtle cast shadows. I think if you did just some subtle cast shadow work here on like the bottom of these, on the bottom of these diamonds, this could look really cool. So the rougher the metal is, the higher chance that it'll, or the more it shows cast shadows. And then like this thing could cast a little tiny shadow right here. And I'm going to be, so I'm an annoying ass when it comes to, oh man, she seems like a massive pain to do it, isn't she? So I have a pet peeve when it comes to miniatures. You ready for another Eric pet peeve? I don't know if you can do it to her because of the way it's sculpted. I hate when bows don't have freaking bowstrings, especially on large scale models. Like, you can, but I don't think, looking at the back of this model, I don't know if it's possible to string this bow. But it drives me nuts when I see, like, figures without bowstrings. At large scale. At small scale, I understand. It's like, it's so tiny. But yeah, there's a little Eric pet peeve for you. All right, I'm done talking about this one. It's very good. Great job. I don't know about that. I don't know about, like, what an elf would do with their bow. Maybe she is ready to use it. Pop secret. Hi, Eric. Got a specific question this time about weathering and visual clarity. A friend hired me to paint an AdMech kill team. He wants it gritty and dirty and dusty. I did that, and he's happy with the result, but I'm less satisfied. I want to improve for next time and was hoping to give me some tips on how to do weathering while keeping good separation of elements. I'm looking. Okay. Hey, if you carry them right. But when I see figures like the Orc Bowman, that by Spira, where he's literally holding the bow and the people don't bother to string the bow, that drives me crazy. Clean up them mold lines, dog. Okay. How to create visual clarity while doing weathering. So, generally speaking, the way you bring definition is through separation of elements. So you can make things noisy and dirty and dusty as long as you then come back and create separation afterwards. So what your figure is lacking is a bit of separation. So you need to come back at the end after you do the weathering and re-establish some separation of elements. Like weathering is going to knock back highlights and things, so you have to come back in and add them back in at the end. Like, because you did this little splotch right here, right? You've got to then reestablish where some of these highlights and stuff are. So you can make things noisy and still defined. Look at John Margiotta's work.
So continue to push definition and stuff, even though, because weathering, especially on like metal parts and stuff, edges and things are going to rub, and then where the metal rubs against stuff, it's going to lose weathering. So dust and rust and things gathers in recesses, right? Otherwise it gets scraped off or rubbed off, right? So your raised edges and things tend to be cleaner. So you want to come around and define the edges more and create sharper details. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know. This is some weird robot thing. I assume this is Hunter Clade or something. Is this the Hunter Clade kill team? Right. So just work on sharpness and cleaning up afterwards. Like you can reintroduce edge highlights to these parts even though you make them dusty and things. You think about where elements are going to like scratch against other things and rub away. Like generally speaking, like this headset just is not sharp enough. Can't see, it's not defined. So you can make things dusty and dirty and still be defined, you know? Reintroduce it. You can paint sharp and dirty. By the way, you guys want a tip for how to get rid of these mold lines in like really annoying spots like this where you have like little pipes and stuff that seem like really impossible to sand or scrape? Take some Tamiya, the like extra thin cement on the brush, try and scrape it like as good as you can, and then you take the Tamiya thin cement, you take it out of the bottle, you get most of it off, and then you like brush it across the mold line. So you just brush across the mold line with the extra thin cement, like with just a little bit of it, like a damp brush, and that'll melt the mold line. Ta-da! There you go. There's a trick for you. Double knife. Hello, Eric. I would like to know what you think about this work and how I can improve it more. I tried to focus more on higher values in the upper part because it's something you usually tell me to do. I mean, this looks pretty good. Yeah. Okay. From a initial impact standpoint, this is pretty nice. She's supposed to be like a 19... When did they start doing all the like space stuff? 60s? 50s? When was that? This is like retro space. This would be like, it reminds me of like Nuka-Cola and stuff. Would that be 1930s is when they started to like think about rockets and stuff? Is that right? Am I crazy? When did Jetsons come out? That's what it reminds me of. Anyways, Nah, I don't think it was the 6th. Well, the Jetsons maybe came out in the 60s, but I feel like the Jetsons would have been like the 50s. Yeah, we need some more details. Values and stuff look pretty good, but like now would just be working on details. I also think there's probably like, this is a very kind of bland figure. So I feel like there's a lot of space on this figure to do more freehands than you did. Like you did the rocket, but yeah, 1930s, yeah. Yeah, just like defining some elements now. I feel like they could do something with the clothes. I don't know what. Seems like she could have like a some kind of like stripe or something, maybe. Is that too much? I don't know. But yeah, I feel like there's room for something else to do with her. But overall, the lighting, like I don't really have much to correct on like the general sort of lighting and stuff. So that's pretty nice. Before I look at this, the hair you kind of overdid is a common thing I see. People over highlight the hair, so especially black hair, they push it too far. It stops looking black. What was the original like Rocketeer and stuff too? The Pulp Fiction era of sci-fi, 1926. Man, dang. God. So slightly earlier than I thought. Because, I mean, yeah, like, what's it called? Fallout's supposed to be like retro future 1930s sort of vibe. So it makes sense. The other thing I need you, yeah. So a little bit of that, and then, yeah, you gotta work on your, just like usual, like a lot of you guys, you're not separating elements enough. Paint her eyebrows. Spent all this time on the boots and didn't paint her eyebrows. The reflection on the bottle would actually, just real quick, would go like this. No, I know the Rocketeer movie, but the Rocketeer was a comic book from way back in the day.
Yes, I'm aware he got hacked. Yes, he sent me a message. Yes, I'm not going to click on anything he any links that he sends me or anything. Responding to a message shouldn't do anything. I was like, he just said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, let's see what message he sent now. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to answer. It's like, you playing Minecraft? And I'm like, what? That's definitely not Walter asking me if I'm playing Minecraft. All right, Tomas. I'm looking for general feedback on this 32 millimeter orc. I'm going to present it in my first online competition, but I'd love to refine it further. Any feedback is appreciated. Sure. So, highlights, gold. Gold needs highlights. Here's some highlight, but you need more. Refine. Refine then. Lots of details here. Gotta pick out them details. There's a belt buckle there you didn't paint. Yep. So details. The ropes are too dark. I would use something like this. Even brighter. And just try and define all this stuff more. I'm not going to sit here and draw all the ropes, but you get the idea. So you need to pick this stuff out. Generally, it seems like you just need to like push the lights on things a bit more. And then when it comes to the skin, yeah, you have a tendency to like shadow quite a bit. So make things brighter. This isn't even that bright. You could push it more.
Same with the red. Push the lights into the next volume. It will make things look sharper when you have shadows next to light. Okay? That's what creates definition. Yeah, makes sense. Hope so. Then we looked at general feedback. All the text on that one. All right. General feedback would be that it is too noisy. There is no clear, it is very difficult to see the overall design of the figure because you are more focused on small, tiny volumes, the micro volumes, the details, than you are on the overall picture of the model. Yeah? We haven't done this yet today. See what happens when I do that? It's just all the same. It's just noise, right? You guys can see that? So, what do we have to do? We have to start giving some shape. Ignoring. Don't paint these small volumes until you've established the major forms. Right? This is so important. You probably want this just generally darker also, so that it's distinct from the whatever the bone things are. Okay, now we're going to take and create an add layer. So we can start to see some shape to the figure. Then you can start to come around, and once you've established the general shapes, right? Then you start to define the smaller forms. Then you can start to add little details, right? After you've established the larger overall. So let's duplicate them. Okay, so before, after. This is a bit much, but yes. Don't get lost in the details too early. Sukidong Holly. I'm not very confident about the direction of the light hitting the model. Also, how strong the cool light from the opposite side should be. Also, like some feedback on the gold. For the blue scales, regarding the yellow light hitting them, should I push more towards yellow? The current intensity about right. The setting for this piece is a forest. I'm going to include some green ambient light reflected from the surroundings onto the lower areas. Where do you think it should be placed? What's the main view? Is this the main view? Okay, the yellow reflections on the blue scales is fine. Again, literally what we just talked about was, well, okay, so in terms of green ambience, like if you want to make this look like it's in a forest, you need to add green much earlier than now. So, like, green would be affecting the, model, like, throughout, you know? But you would want to add green into the shadows, or, like, tint it green, mostly, because the ambient light is going to affect the shadows more than the direct sunlight. In terms of the figure, yeah, you have the same problem here as the previous figure, not to the same extreme, but you are losing the like overall forms, so you're jumping like straight to detail of these like tiny little wrinkles and everything, and you're losing the overall shape of the muscles. So like these, you need to think about the general forms first before you go adding like all these specular highlights and stuff. Okay, so think about the general shapes. Then you can push the details. All right, so like look at the difference. See, one has a light direction. This has like a lighting direction, you know? You have to force the direction of the light. Okay? The blue light from the other side looks pretty good. And you can start focusing on details once you've got the general light source in. As far as the gold, we talked about this on another model, but you're trying to do too much. Okay. This is called a radial. This is called a radial anisotropic reflection, where you have a reflection like this and like this repeated, and then this one and this one are repeated on opposite sides. This only happens on machined surfaces. It does not happen on surfaces like this. Again, simplify. If this is facing upwards, then it would be much more just in light. All of this stuff would basically be in light. Now, if it's tarnished or whatever, right? Maybe there's some tarnishing or whatever that happens in the recesses, but the overall light would be much more generalized. These would be much more flat with different lights depending on which plane of which plane it's facing. Then you can take and create, like a lighter surface or whatever. Maybe one of these spikes is in like a perfect position to catch the light. And then it's all about edges. So you come around. Here, let me make an add layer. Then you come around and you use the edges to sell the metallic effect. It's all about edge highlights with metal, like flat metal surfaces like this, like each one of these teeth would catch, right? The edges of all of these things. It would be the same edges, right? So if it's all these top edges and right edges, you would do that. Something like that. Okay, you guys overcomplicate metal a lot. Especially when it comes to flat surfaces, especially. Yeah. And like I said, you can create little variations, because if he's in the woods, maybe there's a tree like breaking up the reflection or something. But generally speaking, yeah, it would be something like that. And you can see, I'm just going to duplicate it. Like, this doesn't look like metal, right? Where do I learn these terms? What did I... Oh, anisotropic radial reflections. Science. Read, dude. Study. Physics. Anyways, yeah. So simplify. And then it's all about edges. Where you place the edge highlights and stuff. I actually hate this staff. I would have cut it here and rotated it like this, so that you would see more of the staff from the main view. It really bothers me that you don't see like any of the staff head from like the front. You just see this like, yeah, the side of it. You could still do that. Cut it. Take a little saw. Cut that bad boy. Rotate it like 30 degrees and pin it and glue it back in place. Voda. Alright, further to your previous comments, this is where my current skill level gets me. Would you mind having a final look and comment on some things that I can revisit in the future? I mean, it's definitely better. Again, simplify. Now, like what we just talked about. Yeah. Right? We were just talking about metallics. So how do you make... You don't need to know the term. You just need to know how it works. Right? So if I wanted to make this anvil look more metallic-y, right? Like this is like a gold inlay or something on it. So what do? Here's your highlight, right? On the anvil. So we pick every top and left edge of every single one of these surfaces. So top edge, top edge, top edge, top edge, top left, top left, top left, top left. Suddenly it starts looking a bit more three-dimensional. And then you put another one in that's right on the corner of, on this angle.
And boom. Look at that. It kind of looks like gold metallic. This guy needs reflections. Do the same up here. So you find the angle, and then every reflection happens on the same angle, right? A few scribbles, I make this little filigree start to look metal, right? Oh, it's all about just where you place the reflection. Okay? Placing them consistently is the most important part. Zach B. Oh, Eric, this is my entry into Golden. This was my entry into Golden Demon. I was given notable for it, being that you helped judge this piece. Any insight on what could have been better? I have my thoughts, but I want to see if they align. I remember this one. This one was pretty cool. I liked the base on this one. I don't like the moss. Okay, so here's an example. This is just my personal opinion. So, all of this terrain, yeah, looks sculpted, fits with the figure, feels like it's part of the same sculpting style, right? This does not. You take and add another medium that does not fit into the same vibe as the rest of the figure. In terms of like what I think you could do better on the figure, the actual painting, that's just me being nitpicky as heck, by the way. In terms of what you could do better on the figure, you could just paint like sharper, you know? I think there's just a level of sharpness that's not quite there. You know, work on defining things more. It's just everything's a little soft. Like these highlights are really thick. So work on sharpening things up a bit that need to be sharpened. Like this is pretty nice. But this could be sharper.
he also gets a bit lost in the scene. There's a lot of this, like, this wood gray tone everywhere. That he, like, this staff is, like, the same exact color. So, like, the dock, the tree, his staff, they're all the exact same. I understand they're all made out of wood, but this tree has tree bark on it, and this is lumber, and this is just a stick. So try and create some variation there. And then the orc, yeah, needed more focus. So he just sort of disappears. Maybe you could have popped some more color onto, like, the fish Sahegan whatever headdress thing to draw some more attention there. I like the crab parts. Those are nice. The non-metallic's pretty decent too. But again, like, there's always the opportunity to, like, you know, you cut it just a little bit more. You just push that definition a little bit more where you can. So you paint smaller, sharper, where you need. But overall, I do like it. I mean, we gave it a notable. Like, notable is nothing to scoff at, by the way. I don't want anybody to ever think that notable is still pretty solid. Like, maybe you could have pushed the light a bit more on certain parts. I feel like his arm is quite bright, and then I get you're trying to, like, shadow some of this part, but, like, if you want to draw a little more attention to his face, maybe push the light just a bit more. I could have pushed the teeth a tiny bit more. Anyways, there's always more space to push more. Check the back. Yeah, this is cool. I like some of the rusty colors and stuff. I just work on. I think just more sharpness and more focus, and I think this would have been really nice. I honestly don't know if the tree adds a whole lot. I guess it's okay. This is another little thing. I like this. So this is really nice that you have this, like, broken sort of edge here on the bottom on the plinth. And then, but I don't love the, like, perfectly flat across this way. So I think I would have tried to, like, slope it a little down on the front too. So it's not just like a flat across. So, like, one corner would be further sloped down, especially since the dock comes off at an angle, which is nice.
So you could have sloped that bottom right edge more. I think would have looked cool. Tuesday, hello. Anyways. Yes, it's good. Keep going. Keep pushing. You'll get there. Murph. Updated images below. I painted during the stream. Hey Eric, I started on this guy this afternoon based off of an Oni reference I found. 90% of the time so far spent on the face. Everything else is pretty much a sketch. I'm looking for a sanity check on color choices and any other improvements, though. Where is it? Oh. I mean, color choices look good. Yeah, well, I like the colors. It's got like a triadic color palette. It's got a nice triadic color palette of like sort of red, yellow, and teal, but it's not like heavy-handed. So I like the sort of bluish tones and these like cool tones in the golds. Look really good. Face is looking nice. Not overly doing the like details, and which could be quite difficult on this figure because it is very detailed. So I would say, generally speaking, that's looking quite good. Couple highlight placement stuff. We're trying like focus the light more towards like, so there's like a nice highlight you have here. What I would consider is pushing that central volume of his face a little bit more, so favoring one side slightly. So like here I would try and maybe favor like this a little bit. This part of his nose, you can make his nose look like even more angular. This volume here, push that. We'll push these even a bit more. Like this. Push that, push that. Yeah, something like that. Just a little bit. See the difference? So, yeah, pretty nice. I like where it's going. Don't push the light too high on the shoulder pads, because remember, the highlight, if they're metal, the light's going to be more centralized towards the front. So if you think of this as like if you think of the shoulder pad as like a sphere, right? We're going to have most of the light sort of here. Same with this guy. If you think of it as like a big sphere, the light's going to mostly be in this sort of position, right? So most of the highlight is going to be much more down and forward than you think. So the highlights really want to exist sort of in this area on each shoulder pad. If you think of like the overall form, right? So you might want to darken the top a little bit. Then you have the details and stuff, but you get what I'm kind of saying from like an overall standpoint. Cool.
And he needs a sick freehand on his chest. I don't know what, but... You get the idea. Something cool. There's plenty of sweet Japanese symbols. Doesn't even have to be white. I'm just showing you an example. But there's a lot of space there, so do something cool with it. And I would keep it kind of graphical, not like a tattoo, you know? Like Japanese flags tended to be pretty simple. Just give them the, I don't remember Akuma's symbol. It's like that, right? Yeah, I would go minimalist. Look up like different Japanese banners and stuff. You find something. You'll find something that looks cool to throw on there. Yeah, it's going well. What the heck? Sam. He's working on Arthas. Any thoughts on him so far? I looked at this earlier because I was curious. And it looks like you've pretty much nailed the style. So, not a whole lot I really can say about it. Other than you kind of got it. If you want to push it further, if you see you using some lights, some really bright whites here. Now, I remember us talking about the atmosphere, and I feel like you didn't quite nail the atmosphere. So, yeah, it works. So, what I would have expected to see is something more like this. Monster Den Minis, hello, welcome in. How are you? How was your stream? What were you doing? Yeah, so see the difference between very neutral and this? How do you get there from here? Started a Moonstone piece for Moonstone May. Cool. Yeah, Sam, I think you know the answer to that one, and it's not the answer you want to hear.
as far as, I mean, it's totally good like this. Like, it looks great like this. It just has no of the ambience that we had talked about when we had talked about this figure the first time. So this looks sick, but this is what I remember you said you were going for. The only other little things I would say is that, like, if I was to really critique, I would try and push maybe some of the golds a little bit more. I would try and be like a little sharper on some of the highlights. I can't even like paint thin enough, so it would, like, I would do maybe like another little highlight in here. Maybe even slightly brighter than that. Something like that. This like tapered, yeah, the like tapered effect that they do. I think overall you like did it quite well. So like here, I would like do it like this, right? So you'd have that very sharp sort of highlight on there. Yeah, the cast shadow works, dude. It's fine. This one, yep. Like here, maybe you push that, you know, you put another one inside it. Right. So, you know, just little things you can do to like push that a little bit more. But I think overall it's really nice. Hello. Hi, Frodo. Very blizzardy, but not snowy. Just paint another one. Just paint a second one. Get some skeletons to go with them. Some zombies, some zambies, some zamboys. I think you could also do a few more of these. You see these? See this tiny little thing right here? That's another like very distinct thing that they like to do. You could freehand some of those if you wanted to get really fancy. Do you see it? I'll show you on the front. So like here, let me turn this off. So like here, what I would do is I would take this color and I would fill this in like this.
I would take and go like that. That's a very Blizzard design aesthetic that they use quite a lot. So you could do it like here. You take this tone, you make a little mark, you grab that lighter color, and you go like that. How to draw like Blizzard. There's probably a YouTube video about that somewhere. One other little thing I would do, I would add the I'd probably add some glow around his eyes. Time is it? I think oh, it's 11:20. It's my bedtime, dudes. Okay. Fleet Admiral, you submitted very late. All right, I might get through these next three. Rush, dude, I cannot help you with this. Like, I gave you feedback on this already, and I see where there's areas where there could be just more detail and stuff, but I would love to give you more feedback on this in hand at contrast. All right. I appreciate any feedback on this miniature I'm painting before I start refining all the details. Thank you very much. It's very likely I won't be able to watch your Twitch live. Since I'm from Barcelona, a Catalan. This is not bad. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'll get these two in. I'm not getting to the weird chain space marine, but I will get to them next week. I mean, it's a weird figure. Don't have a ton to say other than you can definitely like try and clean some elements up. Like, you know, you gotta refine some of these elements before, make sure you outline these. You could blend a little better on parts. There's some weirdness going on under the eye. Like with this, whatever color's going on here. This is probably too dark. Like this is your shadow color down here, and then it's even darker in here. So you're probably shadowing that a little too much. I would maybe go with something more like this pink tone. Try and round that out a little bit more too. I'd also add some more red to his nose. And everybody puts the rosiness so low. Like the rosiness goes on the cheeks. Okay. Then you re-highlight. Okay. So it's not like on the bottom of the cheekbone. It's on the cheek. Right. And then you have to push the light up more. Now, I'm exaggerating a bit here, but you get the idea, right? Then the hat, the volume of the hat is a little rough. I would try and, like it's very textured, I would try and get some more shape to the hat first. Push the light where you kind of see it, so there's a little more shape to the hat. In fact, I would just try and, a few elements probably need a bit more light to them. Something along those lines. See? Give it some more shape. All right. That was looking cool. You're overdoing the shoes a little bit. Too much blue. And bring some of this back down. Only stick to this like bright blue where you really see the main reflection of the shoe. Okay? So if you want them to look like shiny leather shoes, you gotta make that main reflection point brighter and a little smaller. And hip hop frogs. I'll throw this one out. Orange isn't a color I'm super comfortable with yet, and the reflective visor is pushing me, but I think it's coming along. Having trouble defining the armor, mostly the hands, and losing shadows, I think. I mean, it looks okay. I mean, painting smaller, dude. You know what's going to help? I'll tell you. One, you can come back and glaze a little. I like contrast paints for this. So when like you're trying to highlight so much, red has the same problem. Orange has the same problem as red. So what you want to do, you want to come back with some like orange contrast paint that's like actually orange, right? Like really saturated orange. And you just want to glaze it a bit. Right? So just glaze a bit. So you restore some of that orange feeling. Like you're highlighting this stuff up here too much. Okay? You're pushing it to like creamsicle. It's like too yellow. Right? It's too pale orange. So bring back some that orange feeling with like a glaze. So filtering back the orange. By the way, the visor is pretty cool. And then you need to go a little darker. So you need to outline some of this stuff a bit more, like the hands and things. I talked about this on Space Marines. It's the same on these guys. The stuff you want to outline is not things like where you have the same panel. It's where plates overlap. Okay, so it's like you don't dark line around that. You dark line in areas where like there's joints, like things, panels or like armor sections slide over top of each other. Okay. The other thing that will help this look way cleaner is if you actually come in and like clean up some of the other stuff, you know, and then start to like base coat some things so that you can read the orange in context with other parts. And once it's really orange, your what's it called? It could be thinner, but right. Then you want to be really selective. Like, see how peach this is? Like, try and use a bit more saturated colors for your edges. Like, don't go up to white so fast. Save the white for just like those final spot highlights, you know? Like this, there's no orange here anymore because you painted too much white. Then if you need, then you can go and do little dots, right? So it's like, if you want to make it look even shinier at the end, you put in little dots. Okay, so
don't overdo it on the edge highlights. First thing, like glaze back in orange, right? So this isn't an orange. That's a skin tone. Yeah, it's way too bright. Like, get back to orange. Okay. Then don't overdo the edges. Save those like white edges for just like a few select dots and stuff. And then you'll feel much better about it overall, I think. Okay? Now I feel bad leaving Fleet Admiral for just like the only one not getting feedback. I've already given feedback on this, so. All right, sure, let's just do it. Fleet Admiral, hi Eric, here's a few pics of my Wolf Lord and Saturnine armor. I'd love some feedback on what I can do to bring out the face a bit more. Yes, it's real. Yes, that's real chainmail. Yes, I made it myself. You made this? You're a crazy person. You made that chainmail? Which one do you want feedback on? You want feedback on this one. Okay. The number one thing that will improve your miniatures immediately. Dark line and edge highlights. And then that's all you got to do, right? You want to make things pop out more? Dark lines, edge highlights. So, like cleaning up around all this stuff. It's going to make all these little panels and stuff pop out, right? Then, see, even though this is true metallic metal, you take something like Stormhost Silver or whatever that's really bright. You come in, and you edge highlight this stuff with a brighter silver. And you take a gray, it's lighter than this, something like, I don't know. I don't know the colors of all the GW ones. The Fang or whatever. Right? You can see here that there's like the highlight from the lamp there. But like outlining all these things. And you can do little dots. Right. See how much like more you can just see the face already, like by defining and outlining these parts. So this applies to the golds too. You use like a brighter gold. You want something that's going to end up with getting you like a nice color like this. You go around, you hit all those edges. There's a reason the heavy metal team like does this for box arts. It's so that like all the little details and stuff stand out when you look at it like that. Same goes for anything like this. Like you got like black on the scroll work. So like you need like a white, right? So it's like here's the scroll work color. You take some kind of bone white or whatever. You edge highlight all these scrolls. Dark lining and edge highlighting, and before you ever even get into volumetric highlights and stuff like that, this will go so far to getting your figure most of the way there, like, and popping out, you know, all of these details and really creating nice definition all over, you know. Then once you understand, like once you get through that, then you can start getting even fancier with stuff. But the first thing we want to do is just like create that definition. Yeah, it's fun if you want to post it just to see if how you're doing. But yep, that's the main thing, man. You do that, and I think you'll push this figure a lot further. It's very interesting how. Did you use a wash here or something? Because, like, this is very well defined. Yeah. So you use, I mean, it's the same thing, same principle, right? So like this looks so well defined. You do the same thing in other parts, and then you hit it with some edge highlights. Then Bob's your uncle. All right, I'm done. I have no idea if anyone's going to be painting. I don't know who this is. Sure. Oh, yeah. I'm going to stop recording for you too.